You know, when I work in a club, I get this idea of I arrive, I wear the shirt, and until the last day I fight for that shirt the maximum I can. And when I leave, you leave always behind emotions, friends, memories, and then you have something negative compared with the positive. You forget the negative, you move on to your next one, but you always feel connected to the club. That's normal. I am a proud Portuguese man. I think, honestly, I think the English football is not anymore the English football. Is world football with so many cultures, with so many influences, and all of us foreign managers and players, we always leave a little bit of us. And you know, the reason why I come back to Chelsea for the second time, and I went from Chelsea to United, is because I love the country, and I love the football country, and I enjoy every minute of it. I don't think it's also about the presidency or the ownerships. I think it's also about the world itself, the media itself, and the relation that also the fans they have with the new media world. So I think is a job that the normal tendency is to be with less stability, with more changes. I think even the relationships between people and people that works together, it looks like is also a faster how do you say, degradation of the relationships, if you want to say that. So I think it's the world, more than the presidencies, is the world. It's also the pressure that they are submitted to. So for example, today we are going to have Fulham and Chelsea. After what happened in that final with Mauricio Sarri and Kepa, immediately everybody was convinced that the manager was going to be sacked. I'm so happy that they beat Tottenham, because the best way to put water on fire is to win matches. So they won and they got some stability. You know, I think that is not anymore a fight, because you only fight when you have a chance to win. If you don't have a chance to win, you are not going to have a fight. In the beginning of it, the clubs, they were still trying to establish some rules and to protect some situations, but I think it's a lost fight. Is something that you feel even at home with your children. You know, it's even very difficult sometimes to keep the rule of, when we are at the table having a meal, no telephones. It's very difficult to keep it now. So football players in the beginning was, no, okay, you can have social media, but not inside of the dressing room. Okay, you can have, but not when you are inside of the club. But then, step by step, went into a direction, because it's something that is part of their life. It's part of their life. Years ago, finish the game, the first thing that the players do, get the phone, call or the wife or the girlfriend or the father or the mother. In this moment, the first thing they do is to post something in Instagram. It's also business. It's also a big business at the highest dimension. So there are things that you have just to adapt and learn how to live with it. You know, I think the problem is not about the secrets or keeping the secrets. I think worse than that is the lie. And sometimes the lie is so easy in, let's say, incognitos, blogs, that from there you can develop a new that people think that is true, but the start of it is just a fake news, and the fake news is also a trendy item in the world, not just of sport, but even in politics, even in business. You have just to adapt, and the technology, we can say, that can bring some difficult things to us, but also bring the positive things, and you have to use the positive things of technology. For example, a player is at home, you want to send the player a video that you just finished to create with these tactical mistakes, and the player is at home, and you send to him and you get it at home. So there are so many ways to put technology in your favor, that in football I think we have to focus on the good things that technology can do to us. Yes, yes. I think nowadays there are many managers that they have immediately that big opportunity without a good formation at other levels. The job appears sometimes out of nothing. I always thought to myself that I want my big job to appear as a consequence of work and continuous formation. So when I have my first opportunity choice to be the manager, I had behind me, a big bag full of experience that I lived in different levels. This one was the special championship, was Leicester. And people say, I was in a season where the traditional candidates were not very good altogether in one season. But Tottenham could win it. And they finished second. It was Leicester that win it. So for me, my respect for that incredible work of Ranieri comes from that incredible achievement. Then he goes to France. He has an experience with Nantes. He comes to the Premier League, and after a few months, he's sacked. Can they get a better manager than Claudio? Not at all. Can you compare the experience of Claudio with Scott, that is going to coach a team for the first time? Not at all. But sometimes in football, and you have the example of my former club too, that sometimes changes on the immediate. I don't believe too much in these changes at the long term, but sometimes on the immediately there are some positive results. And Fulham is in a situation where they really need something very special to happen. They are, I think, 10 points behind the relegation line, and they need something. They need something to happen. So that's why I believe they did this, to try in extremis some mental thing that can create a click. But I think the game today is the crucial game for them. No victory, relegation. I hope he stays. And this result against Tottenham, I think, was a very important result for them. If they win today, they close again the gap to the top four. Gives them some stability. I think what people now used to call the players' power is not fiction. It's not fiction. If the players are powerful enough to change a manager, I want to believe no. But do they have some influence? Maybe they have, and in some clubs they have. Again, depends on the structure of the club. There are clubs where all the power, the decision making is in the hands of a powerful owner, of a president, of a CEO, of a sports director. There are clubs with a very strong structure. But in some others, more inexperienced, a little bit more focused on the commercial side and less on the long-term project of a football team, maybe the players they can have what you call that power. There are many ways to have a top structure in the club. I don't like to say this is the ideal profile of a structure, but there are many different ways to have a structure of the club, and the important thing is that the manager is not the structure. That time is over. The time where the manager was powerful to buy, to sell, to decide, to stay in the club year after year after year and have a couple of meetings with the owner, with the CEO, that time is over. But we cannot go from that time to another extreme situation. A club needs a structure and needs empathy in that structure. The coach needs to feel comfortable with the CEO, with the owner, with the president. They need to feel identified with each other, and that brings the stability that in this moment many of us they don't have. That's why sometimes people ask me, your next club, what will be your first question? Which player are you going to want to buy? That's not the question. The question is, what's the structure? How do you want to work with me? That is, I think, now the fundamental thing in the beginning of a job. And then after that, of course, you can work and you can find that stability. You know, you look to the English Premier League and you have in this moment players and managers from all around the world. You are speaking about the Italian group, but there was a time a few months ago where there were 3 Portuguese managers in the Premier League. You had the French, you have the Argentinian, you have the Spanish, you have in this moment managers from all around the world. I think everybody knows that the formation of the Italian coach has a certain profile, and if that's the profile you want, then yes, you go in this direction. But for example, Chelsea, Conte and Sarri, both, the only thing they have in common is the passports. They are both Italian, but then the way they think football, the way they want their teams to play has nothing. So I think nowadays is less about the nationality and is more about the way you think and the mentality you have. I think the thing that normally is crucial, and I'm thinking about all these things, especially in these 2 months that I'm not working. And you try always to find solutions for the problems. There is one problem that I cannot find a solution, which is when the player is playing, he likes the manager. When he's not playing, he doesn't like the manager. This is something basic that you can try to control a little bit, but that's the nature, and that nature you are not going to change. They play, they are first choice players, they like you very much. If they don't play, they don't like you very much. This is the basic thing that you cannot change. Then I think it's about, like in every job in the world, there are where we human beings, we like some people more than others. That's normal. It's the personality, it's the way of being, it's the way of thinking. You have more chemistry, empathy, chemistry. And that's why some players are phenomenal with one manager, and then with another one, they are not so good, and vice versa. Is absolutely chemistry, absolutely chemistry. And one of the things I really want to analyze in detail and to try to understand better this situation is that you need to care more about the relations of the ones you don't like. Because the ones you like and the ones that love you, that relation, you don't need to feed it every day at every moment, because it's something that you have it for granted. So you need to care more about the relations with the ones that human nature is human nature. You know, I honestly, I don't hate anyone. I don't hate clubs. I don't hate managers. I don't hate opponents, players. I don't think. I believe so, but not so much. I think is more a kind of a tribal, the tribal side of football. If you coach Real Madrid, you cannot be loved by Barcelona. If you coach Barcelona, you cannot be loved by Real Madrid. You know, if you are a very important player or manager in Inter, obviously the next door they are not in love, and vice versa. But it's just this kind of tribal situation. In the other day, one of the players that I have a great relation with him, he plays for a team, and he told me, you should come here next season. And I told him, they don't love me. He told me, you win 3 matches and they will start loving you. So this is just, you know, we are professionals, and we have respect for each other. Even when we have bad reactions on the pitch, on the press conference, a player be more aggressive with another one. It's people from the same industry, and in the end, people respect each other. It's not much about advice. It's just about being friends and being close and share things in our lives. And sometimes we are speaking about football things. Other times, not as much. But of course, when I have in football, I have friends for life. I have friends for life, and I don't have the kind of person in football that I don't give my hand, or if I meet him in the street, I move to the other side of the street for not to see him. Some are friends, but others are people from the same industry. You know, we all eat from the same plate. So I think we have, in the end, all to respect each other. I think it's a bit of everything. I think the working relations, they have in this moment a faster going down. You know, I think you move away from football, and I don't know in your context, but in the European context, there is a clear feeling that many companies, they have a shorter lifetime. You know, many times, 30, 40 years ago, companies go from the father to the son and then to the grandson, and the same people works in the same factory, that works in the same company, generations after generations. In this moment, it's very difficult for a person to work all his life in the same company. Normally, the company dies first, then the person. And this is the human nature nowadays. So I think the human relations in football, the working relations, people want to move on. And people sometimes want to change, even if the results are not bad, but they just want to create a new thing. For example, in Chelsea, I won the third title. Then the next season was not a good season, but I won the title before. I could perfectly stay in the club, but the club thought that let's give a new direction. I also want to give a new direction to my life. I was in Real Madrid for 3 years. I was not sacked. I was not sacked at all. I agree with the president. I agree with the CEO that I want to move. I was, let's say, just for a change, and the change could be good for me, could be good for the club. I did my job in a certain moment. In that certain moment, the profile of my job had a certain kind of objectives. finish. Now another person come, now I go, and I go in the search of new motivations. So I wouldn't be surprised now, even if in clubs with success, if the change happen, is a kind of look to modernity now. Don't need to be sacked for bad results to move. You can move and you can change, you can go in another direction, even if you have good results. Because when you have good results, everything has an end. Everything has an end. And sometimes it's better to move before the end of that process and start another process with conditions to be successful again. And as a manager, you have to adapt to it and you have to accept it. You know, I think as you, as a spectator, and in that case I was even doing comments for a streaming platform, when you are on the outside, what comes into your eyes is that the player refused to come out, the manager wants to make a change because Caballero is very good on penalties, and the goalkeeper refused to do it. And that's the first thing that come into my mind. But then, according to what they were informing and the position of Mauricio and also Kepa, and you know, it looks like was a misunderstanding that a lot of people was part of it. The doctor on the pitch, the goalkeeper coach that was not involved and set the emotion of the moment, Mauricio desperate with the reaction. There was a lot of factors that made us think, wow, this is big. In the end, it looks like it was not as big, because it looks more a misunderstanding that the player. And I have a few friends at the club, and everybody speaks to me amazingly well about Kepa. They say that he's a great kid. They say that he's not capable of this kind of confrontational attitude. And when the inside information is positive as that, I believe in this kind of information. Yeah, I think the best water on the fire in football is victories. If they lose against Tottenham with Kepa on the bench and with that misunderstanding, the fire would be huge. That victory against Tottenham meant a lot for them, calmed down the situation, and I think Sarri with a good common sense and in defense of the group, and in defense also of an incredible investment in the most expensive goalkeeper in the world, I think the common sense prevailed, and Kepa is back to goal. I tell you a story about my first Chelsea. We went on pre-season to the United States, and we were in New York, walking in the street with the Chelsea badge, and nobody disturbed us. And we had even a funny situation of a person that looked at us and told, "Chelsea? Oh, you are from New York," because in New York there is an area called Chelsea. The second Chelsea, when I come back, that Chelsea was European champion, was Europa League champion, was 4 times Premier League champion, was 4, 5 or 6, I don't know, FA Cups and League Cups. And in that season, we went on pre-season and we cannot leave the hotel because it's full of people outside. That's the main difference. Chelsea was a club with a small history, and since Mr. Abramovich arrived and the way he invested in the club and what we started doing in 2004, and then they kept doing, not every season, but with a big regularity, made Chelsea be one of the big clubs in the world and recognized worldwide. You know, my first Chelsea, we made a team that was much better than the opposition, and we arrived in the season after Arsenal was champion with the Invincibles without any defeat. But we come, that team of 2004, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, and even when I left, and then I think was Carlo that was coming, that period Chelsea team was much better than the others. We were very good defensively. We were very good in organized attack. We had a fabulous striker. We were very good in counter-attack with the likes of Robin, Duff. No, for me, the title is 50-50 Liverpool and Manchester City. I think Tottenham with these 8 points that they lost in the last 3 matches, they blew up all the possibilities they had. Arsenal, United, Chelsea too far. So I think it's Liverpool and Manchester City. Liverpool and Manchester City, 2 incredible investments over the last years. I believe that City probably a better squad to cope with the accumulation of matches, but Liverpool, after the spending they had, especially in the last 3 transfer windows, going exactly to the points where they know that they are going to improve the team. The investment on Alisson is crucial. The investment on Van Dijk is crucial too. I think they can win the title, but today I think is a very important match for us because today they are second. In this moment they are second. Is a big step because it's not just to win the derby side, but it's also to cope with the pressure of in this moment they are second, and they need to win to become first again. So they go to that game and they know in this moment we are second. So it's not just about winning the derby side, which is a match of rivalry. I think is more than that. Is to show, also to show opponents, also to show Man City that by the mental point of view, by the psychological point of view, they are up to it. We cope with the pressure, we win the match. Or we don't cope, we get a point, we are second, and now we have to wait for City to lose a couple of points. I think is a big statement that they need to make today to win this match. Yeah, I think so. Much better team, individually, collective, great potential, not in a special moment, not playing especially well, but dominating the game. And both goals, they are quite similar because in both Azpilicueta and Emerson, the fullbacks, they go on overlap movement and the creation of a 2 against 1. In the first is Azpilicueta that makes the cross. In the second one, Hazard uses the freedom that Emerson movement gives him, and he makes the assist to Jorginho. 2 very good goals. The goal of Fulham is a little bit out of context, but is a good goal that exposes a problem, which is when you defend the corner zonal and your last man is blocked, there is always freedom in the far post. So the last man was Christensen. Odoi, I think, agreed in training with other players, and the manager blocks the movement of Christensen, and Chambers is alone in the far post. But the normal tendency of the game is for Chelsea to create more opportunities. No. Hazard with me, he was voted the best player in the Premier League. He won the award of the best player in the Premier League. No way. I have a good relation with him.